Hello everybody, it is John and I'm just going to do a very short video looking at how even back in the dingy old days of the 1970s we were producing games to fit books. Now the book that I have here, and don't think this was my original because I picked a lot of these up from second hand, but this was a what's this, a 1965 Ace edition. Although I have a feeling if it's Ace, they do have a tendency to reprint without paying too much attention to edition dates on these. But anyway, look, this is the book by H. Beam Piper, and the book is called Lord Kalvan of Otherwhen. And in here we have the Paratime Police patrolled the vast number of alternate time dimensions. Their aim was to keep the existence of the alternate Earths a secret and prevent these Earths from mixing and destroying each other. But the Time Police made mistakes sometimes, and they made a big one when a seemingly ordinary Pennsylvania state trooper named Kalvan Morrison from the 4th level Europa American Hispano-Colombian subsector, my god that's a mouthful, was accidentally switched into the Aryan Trans-Pacific sector, Styphon's house subsector. So in just a few weeks, Morrison was being hailed as Lord Kalvan and was masterminding a campaign that could blow the whole Paratime's secret sky high. So look, I haven't read it for ages. My memory is probably dated back to the 70s, I think, when I first read it. But the good people at Fantasy Games Unlimited did a set of rules called Down Styphon, a musket and pike wargame based on Lord Kalvan of Otherwhen. So this was all the way back in, when was this? 1977. So I'm not quite sure when I got this copy. It would have been probably the late 70s, early 80s when I picked this one up. But again, very simpler times with, I guess, yeah, some people may or may not like the rule system. But anyway, it's actually interesting that in the introduction it says that H. Beam Piper was an old-time wargamer and a friend of Fletcher Pratt. Now, Fletcher Pratt's fame is for his naval wargaming rules, of which I've got a copy, but not an original. So I'm still hunting around trying to find a set from those days. But yeah, so anyway, Lord Kalvan was the last novel he wrote before his untimely death. And for those of you who are avid science fiction readers as well as wargamers, some of H. Beam Piper's other books you might enjoy as well. Obviously, all of H. Beam Piper I enjoy, but again, bear in mind it's from a time period that is not today, so I'm quite sure that some poor person may find offence with probably what's in these books. But for me, I thoroughly enjoyed the book, which is why it's still in my collection and why I've got this set of rules. So this is quite good in the fact that they've actually given you, while it talks about what happens in the book, they've actually gone and produced a map, and they've given you indication of flags, and then we have a listing of the gods and notable people, the composition of forces. So they actually give you an idea that each of the nations, these are the quantity of troops that they would have had. They're talking about game setup, figure casting, 1 man equals 20 men. Now I do apologise for the background noise, I don't have much control over that. So movement, and then you've got formations, sequence of play, which is fairly simple. Again, this is in the day where we wrote our orders. So you would have declared charges, then you'd have your movement, so infantry, cavalry, then you've got firing, charging cavalry, and melee. So again, very, very simple set of rules, not a lot of complexity, and they've given you some pictures of the I guess the nations and what they would have worn for the time period. So they've given you, you know, typical cavalry figure back at A. So yeah, it's really good for people who really like it, because a lot of these figures are fairly easy to come by historically these days. So we've got melee charts that I know a lot of people don't like because they're sadly too biased with today's current minimalistic approach to doing things. So yeah, so it's got that morale, and you know, just love this. Best Mike. What's that? The gun blew up again. That would have been me. They've got a point system, so you can actually calculate points if you want to try and include some sort of balance. The available castings back in those days, well, once again, minifigs, miniature figs or minifigs, Grenadier, heritage models. I think Jack Scrubb's military miniatures would have been specifically to the US, because certainly out here in Australia, I can't ever say that I've ever seen any of these miniatures. So, and of course it gives a list of all that. And of course with the rules you actually got like melee, movement, fire, and the combat chart. So that all came in the set of rules. So look, there you go. I'm currently going through a lot of my old materials at the moment, and I'm trying to, like, I'm going to do one on the Dragon Masters by Jack Vance, but I can't find my copy of Dragon Masters. It's gone walkies. I know it's here somewhere. I'll find it eventually, and eventually I will do a short video on that as well. So if you've got other, you know, IPs that have come to games that you think were really good, let me know. Anyway, till next time, signing off, the Honourable John.